Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over a college ball game preview and prediction on a big matchup coming up in the Big Ten East in Week 11 of this 2020 season. That's going to be between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Maryland Terrapins. And suddenly, Maryland's coming off of a 2-game winning streak. They've beaten Minnesota and Penn State in the recent 2 weeks. So Maryland's looking actually like a halfway decent team right now. Meanwhile, for Ohio State, they're definitely a top team in the nation. I'd probably say a top 3 team in the nation. They've blown out all of their opponents so far, and Ohio State is definitely looking like the most dominant team in the country right now. So all around, Ohio State is definitely a team that I would consider to be a college football playoff contender. But first, they got to get past a Maryland team that is definitely one of the harder teams in the Big Ten right now. So it should be a pretty intriguing matchup between both of these teams here. And we'll be going over a full preview and prediction on this game here today, starting out with your team trends. Last week, Ohio State beat Rutgers. 49-27 was the final score there. Rutgers did put up 27 points on Ohio State, which is a little bit concerning. But once again, I mean, a win's a win. That was a pretty dominant win there. They won by 22. But still, I mean, 27 points to Rutgers is a little bit concerning. I mean, you can't be allowing a team like Rutgers, probably the worst team in the Power 5 right now, to be scoring like that. But in the end, Ohio State still got the win, and it was a good win for them. As far as it goes for Maryland, they beat Penn State last week. 35-19 was the final score there. That was a dominant win for Maryland. I think they led the entire game there, and Penn State all around is looking like a mess right now. Of course, Ohio State played Penn State last week, and they had a win there as well. It was a pretty easy win for Ohio State, speaking of which. So for Maryland, being able to beat Penn State as well is a really good win for the Terrapins moving forward. Winning streaks to both these teams. Ohio State, of course, has got a 3-game winning streak as they are 3-0 and also ranked the 3rd team in the nation. Maryland, on the other side, is 2-1 with a 2-game winning streak. I think Maryland's beaten, well, of course, they beat Penn State, but their only loss so far this season is a blowout loss to Northwestern in the first week of action. So Maryland does have a pretty bad loss on the resume, but still, I mean, over the past couple of weeks, I mean, they beat Minnesota a couple weeks ago. They also beat Penn State. So Maryland all around is looking pretty good right now. And I would say that they're a team that could be a sneaky one in the Big Ten East. Like, I don't expect them to win the division by any means. Like, the odds of that happening are like 1 in 1,000. I think we all can agree about that. But Maryland, I think, has potential to pull a couple of big upsets. I'm not sure if they'll beat Ohio State, but we could see Maryland get a couple of big wins, especially over big opponents. Watch out for that, and watch out for Maryland this season because they've been able to do that so far the last couple of weeks. I mean, Penn State's a good team. They've got a lot of talent, great recruiting class, so yeah, don't sleep on Maryland moving forward. But this game's going to be on Saturday, November 14th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern in College Park. So the Terps will be your home team here. Spread currently says Ohio State by 25.5. Very heavy spread towards Ohio State. ESPN FPI is giving Maryland only a 2% chance of winning, with predicting Ohio State with a 98% chance there. Then the Vegas prediction is expecting a 13-point win for the Buckeyes, 31-18 being the final score prediction. So all 3 of our sources here are going Ohio State big time. I mean, 25.5 spread is really heavy towards Ohio State. So it's predicting a major blowout here, which, I mean, it makes sense. Ohio State is definitely one of the best teams in the country, and I consider them to be the most dominant team right now. I mean, other than Alabama, like Ohio State's right up there with the most dominant team. And I mean, Justin Fields at quarterback. This offense is working great. So, I mean, it makes sense to give Ohio State a huge favorite here. But of course, Maryland, I mean, don't sleep on this Maryland team. I still think Maryland could keep this game close for a good, at least the first half. I mean, Maryland should be able to keep up with Ohio State at first, but we'll have to see what happens there. But in ESPN FPI, 98% towards Ohio State. I mean, I understand that's a really heavy percentage, though. I mean, I'd probably go at least like 75% at the most right now for Ohio State because, once again, who knows how good Maryland is. They did beat two pretty good teams over the past couple of weeks. Don't forget about that. Here's your stat comparison for this game, though. Of course, for points per game, Ohio State's got 46, and they've got 23 points allowed, 302 average pass yards a game, 208 average rush yards, then 233 pass yards a game, and 133 rush yards allowed per game. So all around for Ohio State, I mean, this passing offense has been great. 302 average passing yards. Yeah, that is an excellent stat line there. Same thing with the rushing category, 208 there for Ohio State, looking really good. As for Maryland, they've got 27 points per game, 35 points allowed. So obviously the points allowed for Maryland right now is much higher than their points per game, and that is still because of that blowout loss that they did have to Northwestern in the first week of the Big Ten being back. They actually lost that game 43-3. Almost got shut out to Northwestern there, and then suddenly they beat Minnesota and they beat Penn State. It just kind of sums up how crazy 2020 is so far. But all around, yeah, Maryland, I mean, they allowed 247 average pass yards so far, and then 227 average rush yards so far this season. Some key points for this one. Maryland is suddenly a top team in the Big Ten. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, but it actually is true. I mean, Maryland, I think, is a top 3 team or they are the third best team in the Big Ten East right now as far as the standings are concerned. Of course, you got Indiana and Ohio State tied at number 1 right now, both at 3-0 apiece, and then you got Maryland at 2-1 in the conference. So Maryland is looking actually pretty good so far. I mean, 2-1 with wins over Minnesota and Penn State is really not too shabby. Ohio State is definitely one of the most dominant teams in the nation right now. They've blown out all 3 of their opponents so far. So Maryland could be next on the chopping block for that. But this is a major game for both these teams moving forward. I mean, for Maryland, if Maryland is a real team, they will keep this game close and they will compete with Ohio State here. Which, I mean, don't forget about Talia. I think he's Tua's brother. I mean, he's had a halfway decent season so far. He's got 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So his touchdown to interception ratio is not very good. But, I mean, he's been improving over the season. I mean, his game against Penn State last week was really good. But for Justin Fields, he does not compare up to Justin Fields at all. Like, Justin Fields' stats so far this season, I mean, he's 72 for 83 right now. He's got 908 yards and 11 touchdowns so far this season, which is incredible. I mean, that is a insane accuracy rate, along with 11 touchdowns, no picks for Ohio State so far this season. Yeah, Justin Fields is looking really good right now, and I think he's definitely a Heisman contender. Yeah, major game for both these teams moving forward, especially for Ohio State. I mean, if Ohio State's going to be in the playoff this year, you cannot take a loss to Maryland, which I don't think Ohio State takes a loss in the end. I think your final score is going to come to 45-17. We're going to see the Buckeyes get the win here in the end pretty easily. I'd say a blowout win once again towards Ohio State. And I think I really like Ohio State's chances of winning this game, but I'm not going to give them a 98% chance of winning it like the ESPN FPI is. I think I'm just going to go a little more conservative on the Ohio State side. I'm going to predict 80% towards them. Like, I think Maryland, like, I do not see Maryland winning this game at all, but I do think there's a chance that we do see the Terps hang around for a good chunk of it. I think, especially in the first quarter, we could see Maryland possibly take a lead early on. I mean, who knows? I definitely think that's possible because Maryland's got a ton of momentum right now, considering they're coming off of 2 really big wins against Minnesota and Minnesota and Penn State. So watch out for that. But in the end, I've got Ohio State winning this game pretty easily. I just don't think that the Bucs are going to get taken down, especially at this rate. I mean, Justin Fields is on fire right now. He's easily a top 3 quarterback in the country, if not the best quarterback in the country. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been good as well out of Clemson, but he's been out with COVID, so who knows how good he's going to be when he comes back. So Justin Fields right now probably holds the top position for quarterback in the nation right now. But yeah, watch out for this Ohio State team. I think Ohio State should pull a blowout against Maryland on Saturday unless Maryland pulls something crazy out, which, I mean, there's a chance. We've seen Maryland perform actually pretty good over the past couple of weeks, which is, I mean, it's really surprising, but it has happened. It's 2020, so anything can happen. But then again, do let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game. Let me know your score predictions, all of that down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But then again, thanks again for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I'll see you all later.